Hi everyone, my name is teacher Ilona Smith. Welcome back to another lesson. Right, we have just kicked off week 1 of term 4. I hope you guys are pumped. I hope you guys are excited. This is the last stretch for the year, and grade 11s, this one's for you, Human Resources, term 4. As you know, I don't take any credit for the information in the slides that I create. I do take them directly from the Gauteng department, from the Western Cape department. I use them as is, word for word, so that I can give you the most accurate, up-to-date, and relevant information. Hence why you might have seen for the grade 12s, I'm starting to re-upload videos and do updated videos, which I will do too for the grade 11s in the future. As information is changing constantly, and therefore I need to keep myself relevant and up to date. So let's kick it. Human resources. Alright, so in the video today, we're going to go through the following. You're welcome to pause it at this time. I'm not going to go through all of this. We're going to look at the exam guidelines, meaning how can they ask these questions in your exam coming up. We're going to be looking at definitions, the meaning of human resources, recruitment, selection, employment contract, employment benefits, and so on. All right, so here is how they can ask you questions for human resources. You'll see here it says learners must be able to. So when you're studying and you as a learner are not able to answer the following, you need to revert back to your books. So can you outline or explain recruitment, selection, contracts? Scanning down a bit, discuss the recruitment procedure, discuss the selection procedure, explain the role of the interviewer during an interview, and so on. All right, here's some terms and definitions. Again, I think it'll be better for you as a learner. Pause it at this stage. There are 2 slides. And it just goes through basic definitions for this chapter and concepts that we're going to go through. So if you don't understand them, you can revert back to this in the video and go through the definition once more. So here is slide number 1, and here is slide number 2. So let's kick it. The meaning of the human resource function. So the meaning is it's someone who's responsible for administrating and controlling the workforce of the business to achieve its objectives. They will do the following functions, and they're responsible for the following: recruitment, selection, contracts, induction, salary, and the benefits. So basically, someone in the HR is another way we can word it. The HR, the human resource function, this person needs to find workforce and employees for the business. I know you did this in grade 8 or 9 in EMS. We talk about all the different resources that a company can have, the technological resources and stuff like that. So here is the human resource aspect as part of this, and we're going to dive deeper and deeper into what this all means. All right, so analysis of the human resource activities. So we're going to go through them. So what is the meaning of recruitment? Right, before we get into it, let's just take a pause. When you are recruiting someone, it means you are hiring them. You want them to be part of your team. I always think about this and narrow it down for learners of, instead of looking at this complex word recruitment that you probably haven't heard of before, I'm sure in all of these movies that you've watched, all these dancing movies, they are looking at recruiting dance members to be part of what? Their company, their dance team. That's exactly what we're doing in the human resource function. So we are recruiting people, and we obviously need to do adverts so that they know we are hiring. They need to come to an interview. We need to check their documents, and then we can place them into our company. So this is the start of the human resource and the recruitment function as a whole. So as the notes are saying, it's a process used to identify vacant positions within the business. So why would there be vacancies? Well, a few reasons. The business is growing and expanding, so we need more employees. Secondly, someone could resign, retire, leave the company. So we need to factor all of that into account. And that's when it's the human resource function manager's responsibility to see, are there gaps in the business and do we need to hire more people? The aim is to attract candidates with the prerequisite qualifications, knowledge, experience, so that they may be appointed into this vacant position. So with that, we're going to get into it later. Prerequisites means, do you have to have something before you come work for this company? So are there requirements that they need someone with a degree? They need someone with a matric. They potentially need someone with certain experience. So that's what we're referring to when we're talking about this. Business may choose to either use internal or external methods of recruitment, depending on the requirements and the nature of that vacancy specifically. I'm not going to go into too much detail because we are going to deal with that a little bit later. This is an ongoing process. Why? Because people leave their jobs for other jobs. People get promoted. That can also be a reason that that position is vacant. They can retire, and also remember, new technological skills may be required, therefore opening up a new branch, and a new branch in the sense of a new vacancy within that company. All right, moving on. So the recruitment procedure, right? I know with a lot of students, I get asked, there's so many bullets, how many do we need to study? How do we study for business studies? Okay, there are in total 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 bullets there. Handful, right? I would say to be safe, study 4 or 5. Pick 4 or 5, any bullets that make sense to you and any bullets that are easier to study, which narrows us down by quite a lot. So the general rule is, in any section, 4 bullets or 5 bullets. Where this does come in handy is with an essay. If you remember more, write more, because you could get more marks depending on that section. Right. The recruitment procedure commences with the preparation of a job analysis, which includes specifying the job description and the job specification. We're talking about that later in the video. The job description is prepared by the human resource manager to identify the recruitment needs of the business. In order to attract suitable applicants of the business, the human resource manager specifies the requirements and key performance areas of the vacancy in that job specification. The human resource manager then decides on the methods of recruitment that will be used by the business to ensure that the most suitable candidate is found for that vacant position. As mentioned before, we can either use internal or external methods of recruitment. Should the business not be able to find the suitable candidate through internal, the HR manager will then prepare to recruit a suitable incumbent through the external recruitment. The appropriate recruitment source will be determined for external recruitment, and the HR manager will prepare the advertisement for employment, which will be placed in selected media to ensure that suitable candidates apply for the vacancy. Okay, so as we discussed before, this is everything the recruitment manager needs to do. So they need to prepare a job analysis. So if we're looking for a receptionist versus an IT manager, we're going to have different requirements and different specifications, correct? So we need to prepare that. We need to prepare an advert. Now, bearing in mind, if we're doing internal recruitment, I don't want to go into this in too much detail because we go through a whole section in it later. But essentially, if I'm doing internal recruitment, I'm only advertising this position to the people that work in my company. So you are not allowed to apply for this position if you hear it via someone else that does work for our company, because it's only for internal people. If it's external, that can be posted on social media, LinkedIn, and anywhere, obviously, externally. And then, as we said, the advertisement needs to be appropriate for the two different ones. And we need to make sure that we're looking at what is our suitable candidate. Therefore, we can make the poster to attract those candidates specifically. All right, components of a job analysis. Here's where I mentioned. Right. So The meaning of a job analysis is the job analysis refers to the processes used to accumulate information about the duties, responsibilities, necessary skills, outcomes, and work environment of a job. Job analysis consists of a job description and a job specification. Right, so a job description. Okay, they love asking this. Please write NB, note, huge, important, whatever you want to do on that. This is really crucial. They love asking this in an essay, section B. They're going to ask it next year too in grade 12. They love this section. Right. I don't know if I emphasize it a lot. Should I emphasize a bit more? Maybe not. Right. So job description, we are describing what you are doing every day in your job. Okay. Are you going to be taking minute meetings? Are you going to be scheduling meetings for the boss? Are you going to be making coffee for the boss? Are you going to be welcoming clients? Or are you looking at IT processes, helping fix IT issues in the company, improving on processes, implementing new processes? So that describes the job that you are doing. A job specification is for that job. Who are we specifically looking for? Are we looking for someone that has a matric, someone that has a degree, someone that has an IT degree, someone that has experience in IT, right? Someone that maybe has minute meeting skills, has email etiquette. So do you see the vast different types of jobs that we're looking for here? So going into the notes then. So a job description is a documented description for the position and the duties that will be performed day to day. So we are describing the job. This is described as the nature, the type of duties, and the responsibilities for that position. The key performance areas and duties for a certain position, such as the job title, working conditions, are stipulated in the job description. Job specification, on the other hand, a documented description of the prerequisite skills, qualifications, and experience needed for that position. This is described as the personal qualities and skills and qualifications that a person possesses required for that specific position. Key aspects such as qualifications required, unusual working requests like working over the Christmas period, and willingness to travel are stipulated in the job specification. Let's look at this LinkedIn link that I've included to try and make this a little bit more practical for learners to understand. So please understand, this is a job that I found. It's just a random job. You can go on LinkedIn yourself and go look at other jobs as well within, to look at the difference between job description and job specification. So here we're looking at a social media customer care agent, right? Already there, this is the job description because it said this is the title. So who does this job? It is going to be the social media customer care agent through Betway Africa. Right. Then obviously there's a few details about where is it. Okay, about the job, I'm going to leave that out for now. There again is your job title, department you're reporting to. Who are we? This is a bit about the company itself. Okay, who are we looking for? Okay, some companies have this. It's just a nice little word up. We're on a thrilling journey of growth and innovation, and we need passionate, driven individuals to join us, and so on. Why do we need you? We're on a mission to create extraordinary experiences for customers, and we believe your unique skills, passion, and super drive will help us achieve our vision. This is where it gets important. What will you be doing? Job description, job specification. Your responsibilities will include: you need to provide world-class customer care to prospective clients, manage all social media channels, create and suggest exciting and relevant content, create content relevant to identify business persona, emphasize and improve the experience of relationships. Moving on. Essential skills. Skills you will bring to the table. Job description, job specification. Okay, necessary skills that we require for the role specifically. A good understanding of the different platforms, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. A minimum of 2 years experience in customer care role. Diploma or degree is essential. Strong verbal and written communication skills. Experience working and collaborating in cross-functional teams. Experience in managing multiple projects. And just moving a bit along there, ability to adapt to quickly to changing environments and priorities. So now, if we look at this, right, the part, I'm going up quickly, where it says, what will you be doing? That is your everyday job. You are providing customer care, world-class customer care, managing social media channels, creating content. Essential skills that you'll bring to the table. Who are we specifically looking for? We are looking for someone who has a good understanding of the different platforms. 2 years experience in customer service. A degree and a diploma is essential. Strong verbal and written communication. Do you see the difference now in a practical setting? All right, so like I mentioned before, there are 2 main recruitment sources. There's internal and external. Right, so internal, the business is looking for a suitable person within the organization. This refers to the use of internal sources to advertise vacancies inside the business. And examples are word of mouth inside the business, internal emails, intranet, websites to staff members, business newsletters, internal management referrals, notice boards, internal bulletins, recommendation of current employees, and headhunting within the business organizational database. I just want to add to that last one. So with the organizational database, let's say, for example, we have, I don't know, Frank, just the first name that pops in my mind. Okay, so we look at our database and we see Frank is working in IT, but he actually has a degree in business and he's worked as a customer care agent. So we're looking for someone that is a customer care agent. Isn't Frank a good example of that? Because he has previous experience. Why is he working in IT now? Maybe at the time that was the only position available and he wanted to join our company. Perhaps. Right. Then an external source of recruitment. The business looks for a suitable person outside of the business. This refers to the use of external sources to advertise vacancies outside of the business. Right, so here we're looking at examples. Recruitment agencies, billboards, not that I see that much nowadays, but billboards, we'll put it there. Printed media like newspaper, flyers, magazines, posters. You might think in this digital age that people are not posting in newspapers anymore, but they still are. Electronic media like on the radio, on TV. Social media networks, I think that one was a really big one that is focused on nowadays. Business websites, LinkedIn, like I use, that's an external source. Recruitment agency, that's a repeat. Walk-ins, headhunting, professional associations, networking, educational training institutions, and word of mouth. So some training institutions and some colleges will actually go to business and workplaces and say, listen, we know that you offer an accounting degree. We are an accounting firm. So please send the CVs of those learners to us. And if we have a vacancy, we will let you know. And then that's how they can get employment. And it creates quite a nice funnel for learners, especially nowadays with the unemployment rate that is so high within South Africa. All right, so the meaning of selection. Moving on. Selection is done after recruiting, where a business receives many application forms after advertising a job. So now we've looked at recruitment, okay? We know we need a salesperson and a customer care agent. Right, cool. An IT manager, we'll just put him in there as well. So we create posters for all 3 of those. Let's say, for example, we decide we want to go external. Our internal employees can apply as well, but we're going external, right? Then we're going to make a poster and an advert for all 3 of those. Now we're looking in selection. How are we going to select the correct people? Selecting a suitable candidate to fill a vacant position in a business is equal to the recruitment process is as equally as important. Sorry, that wording is a little bit weird there. The most suitable candidate to fill the vacant position is identified. They are shortlisted and they are now given the opportunity to be interviewed. Selection procedure of the job analysis. All right, so here what I have is in order. Okay, I've just decided to split it into 3 blocks to make it a little bit more interesting, but this is in chronological order. When they ask you to identify 3 selection procedure steps, they do not have to be in order. Okay, please make a note of that. It doesn't have to be in a specific order. You can name them in any order. So, we are first going to determine a fair assessment criteria on which the selection will be based. So, if our advert said they need, I'm going to use the LinkedIn example, strong written and communication skills, a degree and a diploma is essential, and they need to have experience working on different platforms. Right. So, people that are currently working in marketing very likely have experience on different platforms and social media. If they are a marketing manager, as an example, it means that they are able to run projects and they are able to run a team, which obviously, if we're looking within our assessment criteria, they fit in that. Okay. Bearing in mind, this is not a set in stone criteria. So there are times, and I've seen it in the past, where adverts will be put out and they need someone with a degree. And perhaps everyone that's applying or within a specific area or town, those people don't have degrees, or the people that are applying don't have degrees. Then they might look at their experience and say, you know what, this person didn't go get the qualifications, maybe depending on their background, but they have 13 years experience in customer care and marketing. They could still be suitable for this job. So making sure that the assessment criteria is fair. And remember, anyone coming to the interview, we can then ask them further questions and follow-on questions in that interview of what we might not have at this stage, and we might not have all the information on their CV. Applicants must submit the application forms, if there are any CVs or certified personal documents like IDs, proof of qualifications, and so on. They need to then sort the received CVs according to this criteria. So if someone doesn't meet the criteria, then they obviously won't go into the selection procedure to be interviewed. Then we need to screen the applications to see, do they meet the minimum requirements, and then separate them from the rest. Preliminary interviews are conducted if many suitable applicants were received. So let's say out of the 200 we received, there are 50 people that meet the requirements. We could have a preliminary interview, to maybe a 10-minute interview with everyone to try and get more information to then sift through it further. Reference checks must be made to verify all the content on the CV, because some people can be a little bit scallum, for lack of better wording. Maybe they didn't work for that company. Maybe they have forged their CV and their qualifications. So to do background checks is utmost important. There are a lot of websites where you can go and put in someone's name and actually see, do they have a degree through that institution. Compile a shortlist of potential candidates to be identified. Shortlisted candidates may be subject to various types of selection tests, like skill tests, and I know the previous notes here used to say psychological testing as well. Just bear that in mind. I don't know if they still make use of it. So basically, I know some people might think that this is not the right way of doing things, but if you are someone that needs to be a lot more outgoing, doing these types of skill tests can see, according to your personality profile, are you a more outgoing person or a shy person? Because in all honesty, you can't have a person that's all shy and doesn't want to speak, and just speaking the interview, they're struggling to be a salesperson. You need someone outgoing. And you could even, in the interview, say to this person, listen, according to your personality test, we saw that you are a more introverted, shy type of person. So you are applying for a sales position today. Are you going to be able to speak to people on the phone, to welcome clients, and then see based on their answer and their reaction where they're sitting within that selection procedure? All right, then where was I? Then we are inviting shortlisted candidates for an interview. A written offer of employment is made for the selected candidate. And then we need to inform the unsuccessful candidates that they were applicants that they were unfortunately unsuccessful. So this written offer is not a contract. Please, please, please make a note of that. It is not a contract. It is merely a written offer to say, we would like you to come work for our company. Here is the salary. Here are all the different benefits that we're going to go through now. And here are your responsibilities. And you then agree to take that offer of employment. And then when you start working, you will then sign your contract. All right. The role of the interviewer during the interview. Please, please, please make a note. This gets done in grade 12 as well. So if you learn it and you know it in grade 11, it helps you for grade 12. All right, so the interviewer is the one conducting the interview. Okay, so I'm the company and the applicants are coming in and they are sitting down for the interview. What do I, as the interviewer, need to do? So I need to allocate the same amount of time for each candidate. So if I'm choosing 30 minutes, every person deserves and needs to get to the 30 minutes. I would say a good time we can look at between 15, 30 and an hour. That's normally the time, depending on how many questions they have to ask all candidates. But it's not fair if the first applicant gets 5 minutes and the next one gets an hour. So allocating the same amount of time, even if you don't make use of that time, but allocating the same amount of time for all of them just makes it fair. Then here's a silly one. We need to introduce members to the interviewing panel. When they come in, say, hi, I am so-and-so from this company, and I would like to introduce you to our sales manager, our marketing manager, the HR manager, and get them to introduce themselves. Make the interviewee feel at ease. Everyone is nervous going to an interview. I see learners doing speeches, and it's similar. And it can be quite nerve-wracking. So tell the person, listen, this is a conversation for us to get to know you better and for you to get to us know, for you to get to know us better and us to get to know you better. I'm sorry, I mixed up my words there. And just say to the person, this is a conversation we're having. We want you to be as honest and open, and we want you to be yourself. Remember, this is the first time the people get to see you, because the last time they saw you was on a blank piece of paper and written out what you do. Now they get to actually see your personality shine. They get to see you as a person, and they get to see, are you more shy, are you a more bubbly type of person? And that can definitely depend whether you get the job or whether you don't. And it'll also depend on your future growth with that company. Because I've had it in the past. I applied for a sales position at a college in Midrand side. And I applied for the sales position and I felt it went amazingly. And about 2-3 days later, I actually got a response and a reply to say that the interview went really well, although they believe I'd be better for student support. And to which I went to go apply then for the student support role, and I actually got that job. So don't feel like if you're not selected for one job, it doesn't mean you can't be selected for another. If that company needs and they have lots of applications open, you could even suit the role for another role in their position as well. All right, then continuing, we need to explain the purpose of the interview. Obviously, today it's for us to get to know you better and for you to get to know us as the company better. Ask open-ended questions. Okay, meaning closed-ended question is, do you have a degree? Yes. Do you have 3 years experience in customer care? Yes. Open-ended questions are, we see you worked at such and such a company. How was your experience there? What did you learn there that you will come and use in our company? Open-ended questions to get the interviewee to speak and talk about themselves. Do not mislead the interviewee. Don't make open promises and say we're going to supply you with housing and a car and a food subsidy if that's not actually what this role entails. Provide an opportunity for the interviewee to ask questions. They normally do this at the end of the interview. They'll say, do you have any questions? And then close the interview by thanking the interviewee for attending the interview. So, if I were you, remember I said study 4 bullets, I would pick allocating the same amount of time. That's an easy one to remember. Introducing to the panel, closing with saying thank you, and then providing an opportunity to ask questions. Easy peasy, hopefully. Then we're moving on to employment contract. Okay, so when we just go back a little bit, we did our recruiting, which means we saw that there's a vacancy in our business. Well, there's a gap. We made our posters and flyers. We either advertised them internally or externally. We then moved on to the selection procedure, where then we looked through all the CVs, we sifted them, we did shortlisting, we did skills tests, we did all the interviews, and then we selected someone. Right, now we come to the employment contract. So remember, we've gone through all these procedures. Now this person works for us. We've chosen them. They've agreed to the written employment of the employment offer. Goodness. Okay, so the employment contract is an agreement between the employer and the newly appointed employee, and it is legally binding. Meaning, if someone breaks something on this contract, one of the rules, we can then take them to court for that. So, the aspects and the content of the employment contract. We need the full name and address of the employer. We need a signature from both the employer and the employee. We need to state the position, the job title, the job description, the job specification. Do you see that those are 2 separate ones? So when they ask, name 4 aspects of employment contract, you can write employment description, job description and job specification as 2 separate ones. The working hours. Please be careful with the working hours. You cannot write working hours and overtime as separate bullets. They are the same bullet. So working time. What is the normal working time and what is classified as overtime? I see they've put overtime separate. Salary and remuneration packages. Termination of the contract. I apologize for that barking. It is my dog. So the termination, meaning if either the employer or the employee no longer wants to work there anymore, then these are the rules and regulations regarding termination of the contract. The date of commencement, and if there is a probation period. Other types of payments and benefits. Okay, so if there's benefits like travel benefits, medical aid, staff discounts, that needs to be included into the contract too. Details of deductions, so like PAYE, UIF, medical aid. And then what is the frequency of the payments and methods? So are they getting paid weekly, fortnightly, every 2 weeks, or at the end of every month? And they need to stipulate when is the payment date. Right, now we're moving on to induction, and another word of it can also be used as orientation. So induction, if we break up the word, induction is introduce. Not exactly the same, but you get what I mean. So the employees now coming for the first day. We need to introduce them to the workplace and introduce them to all the other staff members. So that is what an induction is, or an orientation. Think about when you were in grade 8. You had an orientation. You had the day when you came to the school, you got to see what sports they do, you got to go to different classrooms, you saw the uniform. So this is same. So once the successful candidate has accepted the job offer and signed the employment contract, the employee will then go through the process of induction. The process of introducing the new employee to the business, fellow colleagues, the work unit, and the work that needs to be done. I mean, this sounds so silly. So learners get confused with this one, but it's literally, when they say the work unit, they are literally going to walk around the office and say, this is where you work. You are going to report to Mandy. These are your colleagues. This is where you make coffee. Here is the emergency escape plan. Gotta have that. Here is the reception desk. Here is where we have board meetings, where you can have meetings with any clients that come through, but you have to book the board meeting beforehand. Here is the uniform. We have a uniform, or we don't have a uniform, whatever the case is. This is an overview of the business, the procedure at work, the communication channels, general rules of the business are explained to the new employee. So what is the purpose? Why do you want to introduce someone? That's a bit of a silly question, I think. But it's a nice question and it likes to be asked a lot. Explain the purpose of induction. Discuss the purpose of induction. Elaborate on the purpose of induction. So, again, it's a bit of a repeat. We are introducing new employees to management, colleagues, to establish relationships with fellow colleagues at different levels. We create opportunities for these new employees to experience and explore the different departments. So you might be working in IT, but during your induction week, we're going to introduce you to all of the departments in the business, the sales department, the human resources department, the finance department, and so on. Explain the safety regulations, the rules, so that the new employee will understand their roles and responsibilities in this regard. Communicate information about the products and services of that organization. Allow new employees the opportunity to ask questions, which reduces insecurity, anxiety, and fear. Make new employees feel welcome by introducing them to their physical workspace. This creates a sense of security. It's not like, okay, you're going to start with us on the 1st of November, but you just walk up there and they're like, oh, welcome. Your table is on the second floor. It's the room on the right. Get started. That's not going to make you feel welcome. It's going to have, you're going to have so much anxiety. Okay, I know with me, I would have so much anxiety. Funny enough, I've actually been the employee to actually do induction for other employees. So I know how this goes. And it just makes you feel a lot more welcome. It also helps the employee. And you can say, if you have any questions, come to me at any point. I know there's silly questions that people don't think about. Where do I do my printing? How much can I print? Do I have to pay for printing? Where do I park? It sounds silly, but where do I park? Because there could be reserved parking. Most places have parking for their clients and then parking for the workers. Knowing that is a little bit important. Right. It creates realistic expectations. It ensures that the new employees become productive as soon as possible. It informs new employees about the rules, the policies, the standard procedures, and the communication channels. Also important to note in this, if companies have a meeting every day, it's important to tell the new employee, listen, every morning we have a 30-minute meeting. And then every Thursday, you have a meeting with your department specifically. It just helps the employee to understand, because businesses work differently, different people work differently, different departments work differently. So it just makes them feel a lot more at ease and secure when coming into this new workplace. And lastly, it makes them feel more welcome. 4 bullets there. Can you pick the last one to make them feel more welcome? Of course you can. It's a nice bullet. I know a lot of learners do actually pick that one. So take that as a note. Then we have the placement procedure. Okay, the new employee must be placed where he or she will add the most value to the business. The placement procedure outlines specific responsibilities, expectations of the new position. It determines the employee's strengths, weaknesses, skills, interests by subjecting him or her to psychometric testing. Determines a relationship or similarities between the expectations of the position and the competencies of the new employee. Okay, like I mentioned before, where I initially was interviewed as sales, but then ended up in student support. This is exactly where we're talking about placement procedure. Right, then we're getting into the different payments and different payment methods. So we have the difference between gross salary and net salary. Okay. Another one they like asking, explain the difference between gross and net salary. Okay, very simple before we get into it. the way I think of this, okay? So the gross salary is before your deductions and tax, and your net salary is after deductions and tax, and it's what you actually take home. So the way I used to personally look at this is I couldn't help myself, right? Gross salary, everyone pronounces it differently. I always used to look at it as this is the gross part of your salary. As in, you see you've got this high figure and you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. And then you start looking, you go, ew, gross. Look at all my deductions. Ew, 4,000 Rand is going to taxes. So much is going to medical aid. So much is going to UIF. So I look at that as, it's a gross part of your salary because that's not what you're actually getting. And your net salary, if we look at Afrikaans, the word net means only. So this is the only payment that you're getting. This is this net what you krijg, if that makes any sense. Hopefully I'm not confusing you guys too much. It's been a little while since I've been making videos, so got a little out of my groove. Okay, by gross salary, this is earned before any deductions are made. So it includes all company contributions, so medical aid, pension fund, provident fund, and any allowances. Taxes is also included in there. Then net pay, this is your take-home salary. So it's what you take home after all of your deductions. So this is after your income tax, your retirement, your pension, your investments, everything. This is actually the money that you're going to take home. Just a note on that one. Careful not to make the mistake. When you are going for an interview, when you finish school, and they ask you what's your salary expectation, tell them net, okay? Do not tell them your gross salary. So if you are expecting to take 10,000 Rand home, you cannot be telling them 10,000 Rand. Also clarify with them. Tell them, my take-home salary, I want 10,000. If they ask you, okay, well, we don't know how much that is in gross figures, say, I'll work it out for you. Quickly do a little calculation. You can work it out quickly. I think it's maybe around 11 or 12,000, depending on tax, will be your gross salary. But tell companies your take-home salary amount and not your gross salary amount. Because you could be telling a company you want 10,000 Rand a month, and that's what you're expecting to take home. But in actual fact, that then gets reduced because of taxes and all of that. And then you're actually delaying yourself in that whole scenario. All right, salary determination methods. There are two of them. There is piecemeal and time-related. So, right, piecemeal is more for your factory workers. So I look at it as every piece that you make, how much are you getting paid for that? Okay, so every piece, if you are making shoes, every shoe you produce, you get money for that shoe. So essentially, the more shoes you are making, the more money you're making. The less shoes you're making, the less money you're making. Time related is if you work for us for 4 hours, we pay you at X amount for those 4 hours. Or you work 8 hours a day, okay? If you are a factory worker working 8 hours a day, does it matter how many shoes you're producing? No, because you're still going to pay for your 8 hours. So there are pros and cons with both of these salary determination methods. Your piecemeal, you might have workers overworking themselves, and almost it might come across as if the company is exploiting them because they might want to work more and more hours so that they can get more and more shoes done and produce because they make more money, which I guess is a good thing, but then they might not manage their time too well. Then when you're looking at time related, because they know they're getting paid 8 hours a day, they might not want to work hard because they know even if they just show up for work, they're getting paid anyway. So there are pros and cons with both of them. Right, and then there I just put a little description for each of them, but we're going to go through them in detail. Right, so piecemeal. Workers are paid according to the units or numbers produced or actions performed. I know I'm going away from the factory working side of it. Also, if you're producing content, I know there's a lot of side hustles and work from home jobs that for everything that you produce, I'm trying to think of examples now. So for an example, if we're thinking about translating work. So it's in German and you want to translate it to English. For every piece that you produce the company, you get paid 200 Rand for an example. That is piecemeal. Okay, because they're not telling you how long it should take you, although they should give guidelines for that. But for every piece you produce, you're getting paid according to that. The time factor does not really come into that. All right, so workers are remunerated not for the number of hours of work, and regardless of how long it takes them. This is mostly used, as I said, in textile industries and the technology field. Time-related, workers are paid for the amount of time they work on a task or they are at work. Workers with the same experience qualifications are paid on salary scales, which will then determine the hours of work, right? And then many private and public sectors use this method. Then we have employee benefits. Okay, these are the ones I said. So now, just remember, these are all the extras you can get from a company. Is it compulsory for a company to give these? No, it is not. But obviously, the more benefits you're getting from a company, the better, I guess. So, we have pension fund. These are long-term savings for retirement. This fund is maintained from monthly contributions by the employer and the employee. So, a part of your salary is going to go to your pension fund, but a part of it comes from the employer themselves. Money is then invested, and then you get your lump sum. Then we have medical aid. This is maintained from the monthly contribution by the employees and a subsidy by the employers. The fund is accessed when a member or a dependent requires medical attention. The fund will pay the medical service provider for the full amount or a portion of the expense. Provident fund, similar to pension fund. This is long-term savings. The fund is maintained for monthly contributions by the employer and the employee. Money is invested by the fund administrators to allow it to be paid to the member as a lump sum on retirement or resignation. Allowances. Amount of money paid by the employer to the employee for specific expenses to allow them to render their services. So this includes a car allowance, a cell phone, a tablet, travel allowances, and so on. But remember, the employees will be taxed if they use those for personal reasons. Then we have the UIF, Unemployment Insurance Fund. This one is compulsory. Okay, it is illegal if companies are not paying this over. Okay, this is a compulsory amount that every company needs to pay for each employee. The employee is only required to pay 1% of their total earned deducted from the employee's salary, and then the employer will pay the other 1%, amounting to 2%. The fund provides benefits to employees that lose their job or they're unable because of illness, pregnancy, or adoption. The fund also contributes to dependents if the employee dies. Housing subsidy. Businesses pay part of the cost of the home. Housing subsidies assist low middle income groups to buy their own homes. Examples include allowances like car allowances, funeral benefits, performance-based incentives, medical aid, bonuses, and so on. Right, then we have the implications of legislation within the human resources. Right. Laws and legislation is going to have an impact on the human resource function. So, this allows workers to form workplace forums, trade unions to promote the interests of employees, promote orderly negotiations, and employee participation in decision making in the workplace. It protects the rights of the employees and the employer. It promotes resolution of labor disputes. The human resource function should follow due processes such as Commission for Conciliation, Mediation, and Arbitration, and Labor Appeals Court before dismissing employees. Then the implication of Basic Condition of Employment Act on the human resource function. We need to ensure that employees do not work more than 45 hours a week. Right? That is what is stipulated in law. If they work more than that, you need to pay them overtime. Overtime is limited to a maximum number of 3 hours per day and 10 hours per week. Ensure that employees utilize their 21 days consecutive leave per year. Ensure that employees are granted the 30-day sick leave within their 3-year cycle. Meal intervals for employees of 1 hour after every 5 hours of work need to be adhered to. The human resource function should not employ children under the age of 16. Employees should only work 9 hours per day in a 5-day work week or 8 hours per day in a 6-day work week. Employees can take up to 6 weeks of paid leave during the 36-month cycle. Workers must receive double pay if they work during public holidays or on Sundays. So do you see that these actually need to be included also into the employment contract? Then the implications of the Employment Equity Act. The human resource manager must guard against discriminatory appointments, ensure that there is equal representation of all racial groups in every level of employment, promote equal opportunities and fair treatment, ensure that diversity and inclusivity in the workplace is achieved, prepare an employment equity plan in consultation with employees, implement an employment equity plan. Then the Skills Development Act. The human resource function should interpret the aims and requirements of the Skills Development Act and also adapt workplace skills training programs accordingly. They should identify the training needs of employees and provide them with training opportunities so that they will perform their task efficiently. Assist managers in identifying skills, training needs to help them to introduce learnerships. Ensure training in the workplace is formalized and structured. So the Skills Development Act, I know it gets done a lot more in grade 12, but essentially it's addressing needs of skills within our company and our employees. So there's where we said identify the training needs. If employees need to go on training on Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, those type of things, we need to be able to provide training for that. But like it says here, it needs to be formalized and structured. All right, then here is an example of how they can ask these questions within an exam. I've just extracted this just to help learners. So there's your section A, your short questions, your section B, your longer questions. Please pause it at this time and maybe attempt to go through some of those questions. And then continuing. Here is question 3. And then there's a question 4, which is an essay, which is normally a question 5 or 6. There is a nice essay, and for you to see how they can ask this human resources as an essay, as they do like to ask it, as this is a grade 12 topic as well. There is the mind map of everything that we have discussed in the video for today. And then here are the resources that I've made use of for the video for today. I just want to say thank you so much for watching my video today. Grade 11s, I'm thinking of you and I'm wishing you all the best of luck. Please let me know if there's anything you need and any type of videos that you would like to recommend. I am going to be doing a few past paper videos and also some exam prep videos. So do check those out and I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.